Well, hello everyone. Today we are diving into the powerhouse of our economy, the MSME sector. These micro, small and medium enterprises are not just numbers, they're the heartbeat of innovation and employment, contributing a whopping 30% to our GDP. From rural artisans to tech-savvy startups, they're reshaping our industrial landscape with resilience, with creativity. With government schemes fueling their growth, MSMEs are exporting dreams, creating jobs, and driving India towards self-reliance. Watch on as we explore how these engines of growth are igniting India's economic journey. What is the potential? What are the headwinds? Joining us, an incredible guest, somebody I've spoken to in the past, but meeting face-to-face for the first time, Dr. Arvind Panagariya, chairperson of the 16th Finance Commission. Thank you, sir, very much for being with us.
My pleasure, Vishnu.
In simple terms, I think, how important is the success of MSMEs as we work towards 2047 and getting to a status in our country where we are a developed economy?
One, of course, as you just said, MSMEs are the source of vast amount of employment. And in this sense, their success is important. But it is also very, very important that these MSMEs grow. Micro should become small, small should become medium, and eventually some of the medium should also become large. I think that is critical. That has been a bit of an issue because without that happening, productivity will remain low. And without productivity rise to 27 Viksit Bharat goal.
Dr. Panagariya, I'm not going to let you go without asking you some tough questions about the overall economy. GDP growth rate for Q2 2024, 5.4%. I know what the overall sentiment is, very positive, not getting there. But are you disheartened by this number, and how closely is this linked to, on the one hand, declining private consumption?
Yeah. So, economists look at these things a little differently than the financial analysts do. I mean, financial analysts really are analyzing numbers in real time. Economists sort of...
So how do you as an economist interpret this?
While I obviously look at the quarterly numbers, I don't draw long-term conclusions based on quarterly numbers.
Okay.
Now, 5.4 is a bit disappointing. There is no doubt. I think I can't hide that fact. But I would wait and see where else we go, because there are good explanations for this 5.4. I mean, it's not something I would have predicted, but now that we observed it, I can go back and see, what led to it, what can be behind it, and there are good reasons, because of the elections and the model code and all. Not only the government investments themselves slowed down, even almost practically came to a standstill during some periods, but also the private investment then gets impacted
is a problem
with the election. Well, no. I don't think it's a problem. I'm just saying that when the elections are happening, and so,
private investment goes down during an election cycle.
Right. I mean, it can be impacted. It can be impacted because election activity is happening, and private enterprise also gets impacted by that. So perhaps, that is partly the explanation. Partly, of course, we have to be aware of the fact that manufacturing is still work in progress in India. Manufacturing, still we see that, that you get spurts of growth, then, and even the spurts are not like 12, 13, 14, 15%, which is what we should be doing, but the spurts are like 8 or 9%. But then you do see these dips in the manufacturing growth. So, let us wait and see. I personally think that all the vitals are in place. If I look at the overall, fixed investment as a proportion of the GDP, that's been quite robust. Actually, it's been staying around 34%. Even before COVID, actually, it dropped to something like 29%.
Yeah.
And so 5 percentage point increase, and these are 5 percentage points as a proportion of GDP.
Yep.
So it's a very large, expansion of the rate of investment that has happened. So that actually is a very good sign that's holding up.
Sure.
And I also think that we have built up the infrastructure at a breakneck speed in the last some years. Particularly last 3-4 years, very, very rapid expansion, and I've been traveling as part of the Finance Commission work quite a bit, and the roads all around, no matter where you go, and we have also, it's not like we take a flight to the capital city only, we also go around a bit, within the vicinity of 200, 300 kilometers, and almost so we've done 14 states out of 28 now, and we are doing tremendous job of infrastructure, whether it's civil aviation, whether it is
absolutely incredible. I just look at roads. I mean, civil aviation, of course, everybody talks about, but I just think roads, and as an economist, you would know and perhaps explain the direct link to economic growth just by the construction of roads. And the infrastructure, everything goes up, the valuation of property, the importance of land, the logistics chains. How is that something that is completely changing in the areas that you've been?
Right. So I think, at some time, in the 1990s, I always used to be worried that, okay, we have done the economic reforms. But in the end, to really get the economy going, you need infrastructure. And who is going to build this infrastructure? Because the government, I thought, was so dysfunctional in India that, roads. I mean, I've had episodes, when I would arrive from the United States to Delhi and I had to go to Jaipur. And I would usually take a bus. And if heavy rains fell, the roads will all be broken. But that is past history, So I mean, now we are doing that. So that's very good. I think, we probably need a few more reforms, which would happen. A lot of it has already has happened. But some, I think 20-25% remains. But I think we can do that in the years to come.
Dr. Panagariya, let's talk about global headwinds a little bit. The manufacturing sector has been impacted, for example, by global supply chain disruptions, rising input costs, a lack of a significant demand boost as well. How are these concerns? Just off the top of my head, one of the areas which has been impacted was the auto sector. The supply of semiconductors was a problem. We haven't had resilient semiconductor supply chains. So when we talk about our own growth, we are sort of also guided by what's happening around us. Is this again a concern for you?
I don't look at the global economy pessimistically. In there developments that have happened, right? We had initially this US-China trade war. Then there was the sanctions on Russia following the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Then COVID happened and a lot of the supply chains got disrupted, as you have just described. But on the whole, the trade systems, the disruptions certainly happened temporarily, and we know that, even after that ship got stuck in the Panama Canal, the Suez Canal and all. So, but international trade somehow has the incredible ability to bounce back very rapidly. So pre-COVID, I mean, as an example, pre-COVID peak of exports, global total exports, was about $19 trillion. Post-COVID peak is already $25 trillion. So global economy worries me a lot less. For me, for our country, for India, what I worry more about is ensuring that our internal systems are in place. If we can really, smooth out some of the business challenges that businesses have in kind of ease of doing business kind of area, taxation area, labor markets, land markets. I think that these are the sort of, reforms that still work in progress. If we complete these, I think there's nothing stopping us. Because look, our share in the merchandise exports today is still only 2%, less than 2%. Even if you do 4 or 5%, that's enormous volume of growth. And just to underline the fact that this is certainly entirely possible, well within our reach, is the observation that China's share is about 13 to 14%. So, and now China is declining. It is also, scaling back from the global economy. So it's vacating some of the space. We ought to be the ones to be taking that space.
Is our demographic dividend, our biggest gift?
Sorry?
Is our demographic dividend, the fact that we have a young population,
Yes.
is that potentially our greatest gift to ourselves?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely 100%, because the young produce, young save for the future, whereas the old are neither producing nor saving. They are actually eating up the past savings.
Yes.
So both, and the young are much more dynamic, they're innovative, they're willing to take risk. So these are huge advantages that come with the young population. And again, during my travels in the last 6 months, it has been amazing experience, The young are everywhere, crowds where I used to see generally, growing up at least, more mixed kind of demographics.
Yeah.
Today you go and wherever you see the crowd, it's the young,
Sure.
and it's just enormous energy. So absolutely, I think that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
One or two more questions. We are still bound by our agricultural sector in so many ways. The well-being of farmers so critical. But climate is a factor which affects so many segments of our economy. And there are hard numbers as well that if you've got droughts happening with greater frequency, if you've got floods happening with greater frequency, if you've got a rise in seawater levels, if you've got temperature going up as it is, it has a profound economic impact. What is that impact potentially in India going forward?
No, this is a major concern all around the world.
Yeah.
But for us, even more so, because we are still an economy with a per capita income of about $2,400 to $500 per year. So we are, and this is where I really think that we do need to invest a good bit in adaptation. Again, as we are traveling, we also interact very extensively with the state governments, and in part because part of our mandate is also to make recommendations on the disaster relief funds assistance to the states by the central government. And as a part of that, we are studying this, and it's amazing, every single state actually complains of the frequency of disasters, different forms that these disasters are taking. And so we absolutely, one way, of course, is partly the development. As economic development happens, ability of every individual to face the consequences of these frequent natural calamities improves at the individual level. I mean, as a very simple example, if you have a car and you happen to be in a region which is going to be hit by a cyclone, you can quickly evacuate, you can quickly exit out of it. In the same way, public infrastructure, if roads are well developed, then driving out becomes easier. So overall development itself is a part of adaptation for me, but I think specifically targeted adaptation and relief, both. So, relief is also a part of our terms of references, so this Finance Commission. And so for relief also, we probably have to start investing some more in relief activities.
Well, wonderful speaking to you, Dr. Panagariya. And, we look upon incredible minds like you to take us forward in terms of the India story, the economic story. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vishnu. Always a pleasure.